You're walking through a field of corpses. The stench hits first sour rot, like boiled onions steeped in blood. Then the buzzing. Flies thick as fog. And somewhere, under the weight of bloated bodies stacked like firewood, someone starts to moan. Still alive. Barely. This is Florence, 1348, and the world is ending. Not metaphorically. Not symbolically. Literally. Rats pour through the gutters like black rivers, and priests can't chant fast enough to keep the devil at bay. By the time you bury your sister, your hands are shaking from fever. You told yourself it was from the digging. It's not. The Black Death doesn't knock, it kicks the door down. Buboes erupt under your armpits, fat, purple, leaking pus. You pray, but God's out to lunch, so you try something else. You stop having sex. Completely. No touch, no kiss, no nighttime fumbling. Because the street preachers are screaming one truth loud enough to drown the church bells. Lust brought this upon us. Apparently, your erection is a sin so powerful it killed a third of Europe. And you believed it. Because honestly, if sex didn't cause the plague, then what the hell did? But here's the thing, while some gave up sex entirely, others, they did the exact opposite. Tease the secret. Orgies of repentance. You sneak out after curfew. Hood pulled low. You were told not to go, but you heard the rumors. In the crypts beneath the old basilica, there's a group gathering every night. Not for mass, not for penance, but for the kind of sin the sermons warned would crack the earth in two. Candles flicker over bare skin. A dozen bodies, intertwined in a moaning blur of hair, sweat, and desperation. Not pleasure panic. This is repentance by excess, a sex-fueled purge. They say if you sin hard enough in one night, maybe God'll get it out of his system and spare your soul. And these people? They're priests, nuns, midwives, butchers. The baker who sold you moldy bread last week is now on his knees begging for forgiveness and something else. This isn't a party. It's a ritual, an orgy of doom, a sacrifice. Because belief is broken and fear makes people weird. You don't dare join in, but you don't look away. Meanwhile, somewhere across the Alps, men are taking a very different approach. Naked, yes. But they're not moaning. They're screaming. Enter the Flagellants. And they're about to turn sex panic into street theater. Blood on cobblestones. You hear the drums before you see them. Boom. Boom. Like a war march, but slower. More deliberate. You follow the sound through the medieval alleys of Strasbourg. And then they come around the corner. Shirtless men, backs covered in scars, blood running in fresh trails down their spines. They whip themselves with iron-tipped cords, not for punishment, for cleansing. Because if lust summoned the plague, pain might send it back. They're the Flagellants, a traveling cult of suffering. They believe sex was the trigger, but pain is the cure. Town to town, they march barefoot and half-starved, chanting Latin verses and tearing their own skin apart. Crowds gather, children cheer, some faint. It's like a traveling passion play meets a public execution, but every role is Judas and everyone's bleeding. You watch as a boy no older than 12 whips his father unconscious. What began as a Christian ritual has become a blood sport. Priests hate them. Pope Clement tries to ban them in 1349, but he's in Avignon, hiding behind silk curtains. Meanwhile, you're here, watching your neighbor's daughter join the Flagellants after burning all her underclothes and vowing never to touch a man again. Fear spreads faster than infection. But behind closed doors, not everyone's flagellating. Some are experimenting with silence, secrets, and celibacy. And they're building something much darker. Virginity as quarantine. You're in Paris now. The year is 1350. The plague has killed half the neighborhood, and the city smells like meat left too long in the sun. There's a new rule whispered from the top. Virginity prevents infection. Not medically, of course. That would require logic. But spiritually? Oh yes. It's the hot new theory in aristocratic circles. So noble daughters are locked in tower rooms, no visitors. No touch, not even a glance. Sex has become a contagion, not of the body, but the soul. Parents start sewing chastity belts like it's a family heirloom. Fathers pay priests to bless the wounds of their daughters. Which sounds cute until you realize it involves holy water, Latin chants, and invasive hand checks. You remember your cousin? The one who got caught kissing the baker's apprentice behind the stables? She's gone now. Not dead, just purified. Sent to a convent in Lyon. No one hears from her again. Sexual freedom isn't just punished, it's erased. And here's the kicker, some people lean into it. Voluntary celibacy becomes trendy. Monks who never touched a woman now boast about how their purity makes them immune. Spoiler, they're not. And when the celibates start dying just as fast as the sinners, people start to whisper, if chastity doesn't work, maybe the plague isn't about sin at all. The girl who wasn't sick, her name is Isabeau. She's 15, pale as milk, eyes like burnt honey. She hasn't spoken in weeks. Your town Dijon, Burgundy, is a graveyard with a mayor. The bells don't ring anymore because there's no one left to pull the rope. And yet, somehow, Isabeau never gets sick. Not when her brothers died coughing up blood. Not when her mother swelled and split at the groin. Not even when she laid in bed with her dead sister for 3 days before someone found her. People start to talk. They say she's holy or cursed. That maybe she's been spared because she's still pure, a virgin. Untouched. She's locked in a stone room under the church, fed once a day, examined by friars who mutter prayers before touching her. She doesn't cry, doesn't smile, just stares. And now pilgrims are coming to see her, to touch the miracle. Women leave rosaries in her straw bed. Men light candles and vow celibacy in her name. Parents offer gold to learn her secret. And still she does not speak, because you know the truth. You know what happened to her before her sister died. You know what her father did. The purity isn't real. It was stolen. But no one wants that story. They want a virgin martyr, not a victim. Until one night, she disappears. And what's found in her place sparks a full-on witch panic. Hidden motive. Blame the whore. Burn the plague. They find the body at dawn. A dead midwife, Laetitia, 46, never married, delivered half the town's children. Her hands are broken, her lips sewn shut. There's a message carved into her chest with a kitchen knife. She laid with Satan. No trial, no priest, just judgment. Laetitia is dumped in the street like trash, and nobody lifts a finger. Because here's what they believe. She helped Isabeau escape. She taught her things no girl should know. She used herbs, devil's mint, serpent root, womb lavender. She was a woman with knowledge. And in 1351, that's the same as a death sentence. The real motive? Control. Men are dying. Entire bloodlines vanishing. The only power left is who gets to blame who, and women? Especially women who know the body, who manage birth and death, who don't need husbands. They are dangerous. Suddenly, laws change. Any woman found with potions, books, or symbols is suspect. Midwives, widows, herbalists, all fair game. You see 3 women dragged into the town square with iron collars around their throats. A crowd gathers. They scream witch, but what they mean is, we're scared. And it's easier to kill you than admit we don't understand disease. One of them laughs as the flames rise, and her last words are a curse that won't be forgotten. Escalate. The whip, the iron, the silence. The panic spreads like the plague itself. You're in Cologne now. The sky is black with smoke. The execution count triples. Entire convents are raided. One group of monks claims that nuns had been seduced by demonic dreams. Evidence? Wet sheets. Midnight screams, one pregnant novice. You watch as chastity becomes weaponized. New tools appear. The scold's bridle, an iron muzzle to punish women who spoke of sex or worse, accused a man of forcing it. The pair of anguish, a metal device inserted into the mouth or genitals, cranked open to silence sinful urges. The iron phallus, heated over flame and used on so-called wounds of disease. Sex isn't private anymore, it's criminal. Bodies are no longer sacred, they're suspect, and the public is eating it up. Execution is now entertainment. You see a man sell candied almonds to a child while a woman is branded on the thigh for tempting a priest. The horror isn't the tools, it's the applause. People need a villain, and if the plague won't die, maybe a sinner will do. But something's changing because now the people doing the punishing are starting to die too. Major twist, the untouchables get touched. You see it in their eyes first. The priests, the judges, the wealthy. They thought they were above this, that their titles and gold and holy water would keep the sickness away. But death doesn't care about your rank. The Inquisitor of Toulouse dies vomiting blood. The Archbishop of Mainz is found half-eaten by rats, face bloated with plague boils. The man who invented the virginity quarantine catches it in both lungs and chokes on black pus. The system collapses in slow, gory silence. Suddenly, the rules don't matter. Celibate, whore, noble, beggar, you're all meat to the plague. And the people, they snap. You walk through a wedding-turned-wake, where the bride kills herself at the altar because her new husband starts coughing blood mid-vow. You hear rumors of a plague cult-rich nobles who gather for massed orgies to try and seduce death itself. Because if you're going to die anyway, might as well go out gasping. This is no longer about sin, it's about control versus chaos. And chaos is winning. But just when it seems like fear has no bottom, a new target is named. One group, one lie. One genocide about to be lit. Scapegoat, the plague Jews. You're in Basel, January 1349. Snow covers the rooftops, but the air smells like kerosene. And fear, someone whispers it first. Then a priest preaches it. Then it's written in red ink and nailed to a door. The Jews poisoned the wells. There's no evidence. There never is. But people are scared, horny, guilty, and dying fast, and that's a dangerous cocktail. Suddenly, Jewish bathhouses become sex covens. Circumcision is called ritual mutilation. Synagogue floors are searched for herbal aphrodisiacs. One rabbi is tortured until he confesses to brewing plague in goat semen. You stand in the crowd as 900 Jews are herded into a wooden house and burned alive. The church says it's justice. The crowd says it's mercy. You know it's panic wearing the mask of piety. And when it's over, no one talks about the plague that week. For a few days, people feel safe, purified. That illusion lasts 3 days. Then the mayor's daughter dies in her sleep, blood on her nightdress. So next, they turn inward, because if blaming the other doesn't work, it must be one of us. Sex surveillance. Eyes on your bed. You're in London now. 1351. The Thames is clogged with bloated corpses, and your neighbor just nailed their own dog to the door, said it was possessed. The king has ordered a new decree. Every citizen must confess their sexual activity, weekly, to the local priest, under threat of excommunication. Or worse, accusation. A new profession is born, the watcher of beds, paid by the crown to record who sleeps where, with whom, how long, and how often. For plague containment, they say. Men spy through keyholes. Women are dragged out of bathhouses. If you're found touching someone outside your marriage, you're whipped. If you're unmarried, branded. If you're queer, they don't bother with trials. Sex becomes a public matter. Your body becomes state property. You see a woman stoned to death because a priest said he dreamed of her and claimed she'd infected him in spirit. Another is drowned in a barrel of holy water pregnant, unmarried, accused of harboring plague demons in the womb. There's no evidence, no mercy. Just fire, rope, and guilt soaked in incense. And then, the line between plague doctor and predator vanishes completely. The plague doctor's sin, under the mask, he arrives in silence. Black robes, cane, mask shaped like a bird's beak, stuffed with herbs to keep the smell away. You're told he's here to help. He's a plague doctor trained in anatomy, decay, and divine punishment. You don't know his name. No one does. But people whisper stories. He examines the sick naked, especially the young ones. He offers private blessings in exchange for silence. He claims sex with him cures the plague, for virgins only. It sounds insane. Until you hear a mother offer her daughter. Not because she's evil, but because she's desperate. She thinks she's saving her. The doctor accepts. This isn't healing. It's ritual abuse and medical drag. And it's not just him. Across Europe, other masked men arrive, some with tools, some with gags. They record what they do in Latin so no one can read it. They write about womb demons, ejaculate purging, and postmortem lust purifications. They call it science. It's rape in robes. And when one girl escapes and speaks up, they hang her for heresy. No one touches the doctors. Because if they're monsters, then hope is dead. Until the ritual goes wrong. And an entire town burns for what one doctor did in secret. The Virgin Fire. Erfurt, 1352. The Black Death is slowing, but the madness isn't. They think they've found the final cure. They've gathered 30 virgins, ages 12 to 20, locked them in a church for 40 days. No men, no meat, no moonlight. Just prayer, incense, and fasting. At the end of it, one will be chosen. She be stripped, anointed, and burned alive, offered to God and death as a shared bride. They call it the Virgin Fire. You arrive the morning of the ritual. The streets are silent. People watch from windows. The chosen girl is named Alina. She's 16, her hair shaved. Her eyes already dead. They paint her in lamb's blood. Tie her to the stake. And as the flame rises, a monk begins to sing, "You who bleed without sin, take our disease with you." It's the most beautiful sound you've ever heard. And the most horrifying. People cry, kneel. A few collapse from guilt. You feel something inside you snap, because this wasn't about disease. It never was. It was always about control, about shame, about how terrified people become when they lose power over their own bodies. And now the plague is ending. But the madness? It's only just begun.